Meghan and Harry have spoken publicly about their battle against cyberbullying, and there's quite a stir about their upcoming tour destination.
Meanwhile, the Prince and Princess of Wales are opting for a unique and rather different parenting approach compared to previous generations of royals, and there's encouraging news regarding the princess's health.
Hello and welcome to Heirs and Spares, the show where we bring you insight and opinion into the lives of two rather famous royal couples on either side of the Atlantic. I'm Kinsey Schofield, and I'll be bringing you updates on the Duke and Duchess of Sussex right here in California.
And I'm Katie Nicholl, and I'll have all the latest news, although there's not much because they're on holiday, from the Prince and Princess of Wales here in the UK. But Kinsey, one of the stories that I'd just like to kick off with was in the Sunday papers, and it was nothing terribly new, I would say, but an interesting insight, I think, into William and Kate and their parenting approach and just how different it is to previous generations of royals. So, whereas traditionally royal children have been very much the domain of the royal nursery and royal parents have been, I suppose, quite remote because of the nature of their work, we're seeing William and Kate do things very differently. And I think, the reason for this story was that they've disappeared from the sort of public spotlight. They're enjoying this wonderful, very down-to-earth, normal bucket and spade holiday in Norfolk, although there have been rumours that they've escaped to Mustique. We'll discuss that a little bit later on. But I think this whole idea of their approach to parenting has been so very refreshing and different that it always seems to attract attention. And as I say, this was a story in the Sunday newspaper sort of pointing out that they don't have a nanny that lives with them, just how hands-on they are at home with George, Charlotte and Louis, and that, even throughout all of her cancer ordeal, her treatment and her recovery, that the princess has been really hands-on in all of that as well. They are living, don't forget, in a 4-bedroom apartment. They could be in the 21-room apartment at Kensington Palace, but they've chosen to have a much quieter, low-key existence. And with that, a more hands-on approach to royal parenting. I mean, how does that go down in the States, Kinsey? Because I often find when I'm sort of engaging with an American audience, they find it quite hard to believe that the family live as, of course, they live a privileged lifestyle. It would sound silly to say that they don't, but they live in such a sort of a normal way without staff and valets and dressers and nannies and everything else.
Absolutely. And I do think that we were so engaged in Prince Charles and Princess Diana's lifestyle, where Prince Charles did seem to always be on the road, always working, or I believe he spent a significant time at Highgrove, and it was Diana that had to put the boys in the car and head over to see him because they were at Kensington Palace. It is unique to see a family that seems so normal and so close, and they express love so much more openly than previous generations. But Americans absolutely love it. They love to see Louis. They love to see the way that the Princess of Wales interacts with her children, holding their hands, playing with their hair. Again, we are just such big Prince and Princess of Wales fans here in the States, and that normality, I think, is one of the things that really attracts us to them, because they could just disappear and stay on the road. And their ultimate objective has always seemed to be make these children normal, make sure they know they're loved, make sure they're protected, and have an upbringing that was far different from Prince William's.
Yeah, well, when you think about Prince William's upbringing, Diana was very hands-on. I think her and Charles together really broke that mold of royal parenting. The Queen, let's not forget, when Anne and Charles were very young, set off on that big, ambitious Commonwealth tour. Diana and Charles, when they had to go to the other side of the world, decided that they were going to take a very young Prince William. I think he was only 9 months at the time. And, that was definitely changing things. It was definitely doing things differently. I think that sort of laid the blueprint. I think we've seen William and Kate sort of pushing the parameters ever more so. I mean, I think the idea that the future king and queen live in a pretty modest 4-bedroom cottage when they could be living in, the splendour of Kensington Palace with whatever staff they wanted. I think it's a really good thing because I think it makes them look modern. I think it makes them look in touch. I think, Kinsey, when you consider the Prince of Wales and some of the criticism he's had over the years, for allegedly having a valet who squeezed toothpaste onto his toothbrush, that idea of sort of spoilt royalty, I think does them no favours. So I think the fact that they have these sort of pretty rustic bucket and spade holidays in Norfolk, I mean, they don't even have a nanny living in with them anymore. And Maria Barallo was working with them for most of George's life and up until recently was living in. But when they move to Adelaide Cottage in Windsor, they didn't actually have the space for any staff. And I think they really enjoy that, just being a family of four. And I think people are surprised by how hands-on they are, whether that's doing the school run or cooking a meal. One of the really interesting things in this article is how the children all have chores to do, whether that's setting the table or loading the dishwasher. They're getting involved in these tasks. And I think, in a way, when you consider how Diana raised William and Harry, she was determined to show them a life outside of palace walls. That's why she took them to see homeless people. That's why she took them to those shelters, so that they understood there was a life outside of the palace. And I think, William and Kate are continuing that and just doing it perhaps in an even more extreme way. I mean, I don't know how many tables William and Harry had to lay as children. I expect not very many. They used to love to go downstairs and get midnight feasts with Diana, and the chef would sort of treat them to their favourite things. But I don't think they did. I don't think they were as involved in family life in the same way that George, Charlotte and Louis. And I think for this modern generation of royals, William and Kate's hands-on parenting is just perfect. I think it makes them seem real and relatable and very in touch.
Oh my goodness, I love that. And I was talking to you before we started recording. You and I were kind of visualizing the Wales family all sitting around the living room, watching the Olympics, engaged in the games. This is a sports-driven family. I cannot imagine how emotionally invested they all are in the Olympics this year.
They will be. I mean, I'm thinking back to 2012 and those wonderful pictures of William and Kate, so young, so in love, so carefree, before children, and when hugging each other when England did well. And Great Britain are doing really well in this tournament. They're scooping the goals. I think they're currently in 5th place and they're doing really well. So I think there's a bit of speculation as to whether we will see William pop up at the Olympics. I would personally say don't hold your breath, but will they be watching it at home on the screen at home? 100%. I mean, we know that they love sports. As you pointed out, there was that lovely picture of two of the children watching the football in the final, Charlotte and Louis, who didn't get to go to Berlin to watch the match. William, of course, took George, but it didn't matter. They were still involved with the excitement of that England final. And I think as a family, they'll be involved in the excitement of Great Britain doing so well in the Olympics. Because as you say, Kinsey, they're a very, very sporty family. And watching sport as much as taking part in it is a real treat for them.
All right, well, if we should not expect to see them at the Olympics, and it's like you said, 50-50, maybe we will, maybe we won't. It's just a rumor that's circulating. Might they continue to travel as a family throughout the holiday?
Well, there have been rumours that they have either taken or are on a holiday in Mustique, and I don't want to speculate too much because I think this is a family that needs privacy more than anything else, and are very deserving of a holiday if that's indeed what they've been able to do. And you know what, Kinsey, what I will say is that if they've been able to go to Mustique, it's not easy to get to Mustique. It's a long flight and then a small private flight to the island. It's a long distance. It would suggest, I think, that the princess is doing really well. So I hope that they've had a Mustique holiday. I know how much she absolutely loves it there. I mean, long before she married William, she would enjoy family holidays with the Middletons in Mustique, and they would rent some wonderful villas. They've got good friends over there. They are never photographed. They are always left on their own, and they always have a wonderful time. So I hope that they're either there sunning themselves, because it's not very sunny here in the UK at the moment. We've had a rotten summer. And I think it's a good indication, if they have been able to enjoy it, that the princess is doing really well. I think they're mindful not to be seen to be too ostentatious when it comes to their holidays. You don't see them on very lavish trips. I think that's why, for the most part, they tend to holiday around the UK, because they're promoting Britain as a holiday destination. they're keeping it real. But every so often they do go off to Mustique. And as I say, there have been sources reporting that they have been out there. And I think if they have, then that's got to be a good sign, certainly in terms of the Princess of Wales's health, because as you know, we're not getting regular updates from Kensington Palace. We don't have a time frame in terms of when she's going to return to work. But I think every time we hear that she's doing something like this, it's encouraging, because it gives us a sense of optimism that she's doing well in her recovery.
Yes, and that's always the optimism is what we look forward to when it comes to the Princess of Wales. We are hearing a little bit about Meghan Markle's health again. Meghan turned 43 on Sunday, but all eyes were on her and Prince Harry's latest joint interview. They sat down with CBS to discuss the Parents Network program. Now, this is a free support service for parents in the US, UK, and Canada dealing with social media's impact on children. The pair shared their own worries for their children and stressed how important online safety is. Meghan reiterated her own battles with online bullying and mental health. She said she hoped that opening up might help others going through the same thing. I'm sure there were the best intentions here, but there has been a lot of pushback when it comes to this interview here in the States. I saw one major boutique here in LA that is always at war with Chrissy Teigen post that interview with Meghan and then say, Meghan talking about online bullying, here's Chrissy Teigen, and they went into Chrissy Teigen going after a 16-year-old girl years ago. I mean, should the focus be on the families that have lost children? Should the focus be on the children versus Meghan going back into the story we had originally heard on Oprah? Is this the right strategy for Harry and Meghan to launch this program that actually could be incredibly beneficial to the world?
Well, listen, the whole issue of mental health is something that Meghan has been passionate about for a long time. I mean, certainly before her days as a member of the royal family. Of course, that controversial interview with Oprah threw up so much. There was one very famous TV presenter who actually lost their job, as we both well know, over questioning, Meghan's mental health and the claims that she was making about her mental health. This is her opportunity to speak about her experience of mental health, and this is, and I think she says, doesn't she? She'll take, if she gets knocked about this, she'll take the hit. She'll take the hit because she thinks it's very, very important that she is talking about something that is considered a stigma. And I have to say, Kinsey, that I feel that anyone with a public platform like that is able to sort of raise awareness about mental health is ultimately doing something good. I think sort of when it comes down to that Oprah interview, of course, all the controversy over that, the racism row, the mental health claims that Meghan mentioned, all seem to come back in a rather ugly way. So I think she takes a risk in doing it, but she recognises that, and she says she's willing to take the brickbats that are going to come with it. I think in terms of this cause that they're pushing, in terms of raising awareness about online safety and protecting children in today's world when it comes to online safety is a hugely important subject, and one that absolutely needs awareness raised around it. It's something that Prince William is hugely involved with over here. Harry's also involved because he gets involved with tech giants in a different way. And I think when you consider the platforms that they've got and the profiles and the access, they're actually really powerful advocates for better online safety for children. And I think it doesn't matter what you think of Meghan Markle, whether you're a fan or not, the safety of our children online is hugely important in the world that we live in.
You did make the comment just now, though, that they did risk jeopardizing their relationship with the family a little bit. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but do you think that when they made those comments, they realized, okay, with every article that comes up about this, there's going to be chunks of comments from the Oprah Winfrey interview. We are rehashing something that really angered the royal family at the time. Do you think that she realized that there she could be creating more of a distance with some of these comments that immediately the press were going to take and link with prior statements that she'd made?
Well, listen, Meghan is certainly not stupid. She's an incredibly intelligent woman, and I think she knows that every comment that she makes is going to be dissected and analysed, and is going to generate headlines. I mean, she was slightly provocative, Kinsey, I think, in terms of when she's talking about her own experience. She sort of said she'd barely scratched the surface. I mean, that sort of, I'm not saying it was a threat, but it sort of felt quite sort of threatening, I suppose, a little ominous, in that, the suggestion being, gosh, there's so much more I could say that I haven't yet. Well, is that the plan? Is that going to be the intention, to put more information out about that period of time? We don't know is the answer. But of course, every time that subject of her emotional and mental well-being when she was part of the royal family is revisited, she obviously feels that she was hard done by, that she wasn't heard, that only one side of the story has been out there, and it all seems to suggest that she's still got more she wants to say. And I think that is probably concerning for the royal family, but as much as it's concerning, it's also not going to do anything to help those already strained familial relationships. And I think this is part of the problem in terms of Meghan's relationship with the royal family and the wider royal family, is that there has just been such a breakdown of trust, and there is a genuine nervousness about what else she may want to say. And when she says things like, well, I've only scratched the surface, it suggests, I think, that she may well be planning to tell more of her story.
Also, when she said in the Cut interview that she discovered her journals at Frogmore Cottage, and she'd forgotten that she had documented things, and when she told the Cut magazine that she never signed a non-disclosure agreement, those are kind of terrifying statements if you're a member of the royal family, or if you're in charge of controlling the royals communication department. I imagine you're looking at this going, oh no, what's on the
next?
Horizon?
What's next? Yeah, I think you're right. Nervousness, probably. I think it just triggers a sense of nervousness.
I just wanted to say, Katie and I want to make sure that if you are feeling emotionally distressed or suicidal, please call Samaritans for help at 116-123 if you are in the UK, or you can email joe@samaritans.org. In the United States, you can call Samaritans at 1-800-273-TALK, 1-800-273-TALK. Really quickly, before we close up, I wanted to touch base with you about the Colombia tour. This is probably one of the most shocking new developments when it comes to the Sussexes story over the last few weeks for me, because Prince Harry and Meghan have announced that they are looking forward to a trip to Colombia. Now, this is one of the world's most dangerous countries, and we spoke recently about Prince Harry's sit down with ITV, where he said, I don't feel comfortable bringing my wife back to the UK over security issues. This trip, scheduled before the first global ministerial conference on ending violence against children in November, will proceed despite travel alerts from the UK and the US governments over terrorism, civil unrest, and kidnapping risks. The US has rated Colombia at a level 3 security risk, heightening concerns about the Duke and Duchess's safety. The decision to go has sparked a major debate. I know you've probably seen some of it on TV, some of it online, especially given Prince Harry's ongoing security battle in the UK. This is a head scratcher to me. I sit back and I think, you say one thing, you do another. Is this not contradictory to your statements that you recently made about your wife's safety?
Yes, I mean, it's apparently not safe to come to the UK, but it is safe to go to Colombia. I mean, I think when we look back at the last tour that they did to Nigeria, the security was incredible there. But, this was the military in Nigeria stepping up, treating the royals as if they were on an official royal tour. I mean, I suppose it's going to depend on what sort of security they get when they're on the ground. One can only imagine it's going to be at a sort of government and military level, and that they will be well protected because, of course, they don't have the benefit of royal security. I mean, that's what Harry's taking on the Home Office on about through the courts, so that he can try and get that, because he doesn't feel safe enough to bring his family to Britain. I mean, clearly they won't be taking the children to Colombia, but you and I, Kinsey, have spoken about how they are going to be doing more on the world stage. they've obviously received an invitation. They obviously feel this is something that resonates with them and they want to do it. And clearly they feel that the trip is safe enough for them to do. But I agree with you. When they're making such a fuss about their security over here in the UK, where frankly they're incredibly safe, it does seem an unusual choice of destination. But I am sure, we don't have to wait too long to find out, that this is a trip that will generate huge amount of coverage for them as a couple, for Colombia, for everything that's being sort of discussed at the round table that is going to take place over the course of these few days, and of course puts Harry and Meghan on the international map once again. And I think so much of this and what they're doing is about that international visibility.
Agreed. Yeah, I suspect that they are doing everything in their power to be seen as thought leaders, no matter how far they have to go. And if once you recognize that and you understand that they want to be taken seriously in this space, you can kind of wrap your head around it. But it's still, I think that they need to be more aware of how things look. In the grand scheme of things, say one thing, do another. People are going to point a finger at you and go, wait, you just said this. Anyway, if you agree with Katie and I, disagree with us, please let us know in the comments below. Make sure you like this video, share it with a friend, and subscribe. Katie, I had so much fun catching up with you. Thank you so much for your time today, and I can't wait to see you again soon.
We will see you soon. And of course, it's a quiet time for the royals. They are on holiday. There's a trip coming up to Scotland, Kinsey, later in August. The King is following in that tradition of inviting all his children and grandchildren up to Balmoral. So there will be news from that, and I look forward to speaking to you then.